Hello, everyone. Small correction on the title. It's actually Automated Genius Engineers, but I spotted it like 5 minutes ago. So no hard feelings on that. In fact, on this note, thank you everybody to coming and for having me. A special thanks to the CTO Craft team. Everything is running so smoothly, and I sent my last version of the slides last night. So thank you everybody. So today I'm going to talk about how to mentor genius engineers. Before I start, a couple of things about me. As Emma said, I'm Alessandro. My actual full name is Alessandro Riccardo Marino Maria Canessa. However, hopefully nobody here is going to call me that because that's how my mom calls me when she's mad at me. That's why I usually simplify to just Alex. My key role, I've been in this company called Digital Detox for pretty much 8 years, and we recently be acquired by EY. So we started this very interesting adventure together. And my role is to look after mainly engineers' careers, together with a bit of the technical strategy and a touch point in architecting the projects of clients. Most importantly, what I do is I make sure that these three things align so people get to work on things they want to work at the same time that are the tech trends and the state of the art of web development. Another thing that I like to mention is that I'm a dad. That is relevant, I think, because parenting and mentoring have lots in common, and hopefully I'll demonstrate it today. I've got a little kid, 5-year-old, called Bruno. I swear is not named after a Disney character, but after my dad. And I'm gonna bet analogies between Bruno and genius engineers. At this point, I feel like I should make a disclaimer. My son is not a genius. This is when we tried to play hide and seek a few years ago. And another disclaimer that I feel like I have to add at this point is that I'm not a genius either. They once found me like this, building myself in an IKEA bed. I'd like to start now by quoting Howell Carver and a brilliant talk that I watched when we both talk at Lead Dev, and that is success isn't repeatable. Now, I'm not going to go into details, but the one thing I'm gonna mention is that Howell talks about three main aspects of learning, which are knowledge, skills, and wisdom. Now, knowledge is simply theory. So it is what you could learn by reading a book or listening to a talk and taking notes and this kind of things. But knowledge itself is not enough. You need to practice and have skills in order to apply that knowledge into a job, like writing code. And that, again, those two are not enough because, again, quoting Howell, the context matters, right? So you will have to use knowledge and skills in different contexts. And to be able to do that, you need wisdom, you need that experience. Now, if we bring it to the engineering world, we usually classify engineers in levels, juniors, mids, and seniors. And I remember a few years ago in Digital Detox, we were writing role for job descriptions. And most importantly, we're looking at the responsibilities. So what do juniors, mids, and seniors have to do, and what are they expected to do when they join us? After a while, we realized that from a junior, we actually just expect to learn theory. That's all. That's junior's responsibility, just to learn. A mid engineer, we would expect them to implement. So write good code, but just implement, right? No other responsibilities. We wouldn't expect a mid developer to strategize over an architecture and infrastructure of a CI/CD pipeline, but just to implement it. Strategize it will be the responsibility of a senior engineer who would architect. Now you can see, I think, how learn theory, implement, and architect map easily to knowledge, skills, and wisdom. I'm going to borrow one more concept from that talk. And by the way, Howell is also talking at this conference. And if you're in the audience, I'm sorry if I'm not saying things right. Hopefully, I'm not going to see any letters from your lawyers later on this week. But the other concept is oftentimes we try to teach wisdom, so to bring wisdom into knowledge. And I agree with him when he says that it's not often the right thing to do because most of the time it doesn't work. If we look at the Cambridge Dictionary definition of wisdom, in fact, they say it's the ability to use your knowledge and experience to make good decisions and judgments. What does it mean? In order to gain wisdom, you need to reflect on experience. So I did say that we were going to talk about parenting. So let's talk about Bruno. You have to appreciate that I struggle to not sing this line. So I don't know how many parents are there in the audience. Obviously, I cannot do a raise of hands. However, it's pretty common knowledge that kids arrive with default settings, and like when they don't know anything, everything is new to them. And Bruno right now jumps very well. So let's see how he got to jumping very well. The first thing that he got was the knowledge. He understood that bending the knees, pushing the body up with the legs, will actually make him jump, according to wikihow.com at least. But that alone is not enough. He would do a jump, but maybe not a good jump, or would fall after. What he needed to do was doing lots of practicing. And our neighbors do know that very well. But now let's take the wisdom aspect of it. What if he just jumped in a crib so far? We saw that to gain wisdom, you need experience to make decisions. So if we go back to Bruno, what if for the first time he wants to jump on a bed? Now, what do we do as parents? We try to stop it. We try to teach him our experience. But it doesn't matter how many times we sing Five Little Monkeys jumping on a bed. That won't work. Until Bruno goes off the bed and bumps his head, he will not gain that experience and therefore wisdom. Let's go back to a junior meets and seniors. Now, if we think of a junior, we said that their first responsibility is to learn knowledge, to gain knowledge, so to learn theory. So they will probably look towards this as they go towards the mid level, when they start getting also the skills to support the knowledge and experience as they could. And a senior obviously would have more of a balance in terms of focus. Now, what happens if in your team comes an engineer that has lots of knowledge and skills, but not much wisdom? In fact, maybe even more knowledge and skills than everybody else. At this point, I feel like I have to define genius. So what do I mean by genius engineer? Exactly that, right? So somebody that has knowledge, no skills, knowledge and skills, but no experience. In other words, a very talented junior. Now let's call this talented junior Yanti. When Yanti comes on a team, we make some mistakes. The first mistake that we personally made was to label somebody as genius. Obviously, labeling anybody as anything is a bad decision. But what happens if you label Yanti as genius? They will build up a big pressure to always deliver as genius, and that is obviously not fair on them. The other sentence I've heard a lot is just give it to them; they'll finish in no time. That again puts lots of pressure on them, but also the business will not have an actual reflection of the delivery timing. And then, of course, trying to give Yanti a project to lead just because they have lots of knowledge is not a good idea, because they don't have the wisdom to apply to different contexts, especially in an industry like software engineering, where context changes very often. Now, from their perspective, I don't know if you shared this with me, but I have the experience that when a talented person that has little experience joins the team, they think that I know what they think they know. Sorry, I think they think I know what they know. That's it. So obviously, it comes many times where Yanti comes to me and I have no clue what they're saying. Why is that? It's because they're lacking experience and lacking of mentoring skills. We're going to touch on this later. However, I think one of the key aspects of mentoring is the empathy, understanding of the other people's level and comparing that to your level so that you can fill that gap. But somebody with no experience might not find that very often very intuitive. I want to speed my CPU first. This is an actual quote from a not Yanti maybe, but another one a few years ago. I remember the task that we gave to this engineer was to build a UI component. I don't remember which component, but let's say an accordion component. After a couple of days, we asked for some progress, and he said he didn't do any work on it because he was trying to fix the build first, or in fact, fix the CPU and the amount of memory was the build step was taking. It was like, are we talking 5 years ago, 7 even? Um, the point is, there is this trying to understand the universe before creating something concept that you find in people that don't have experience but a lot of knowledge. And then finally, when do I get to senior position? Now, this is a fair question, right? Because Yanti sees that they have more knowledge than everybody else. And in the past, I did struggle to explain why I felt like they were in the senior position yet. They were quite there, but it was something not right. Obviously, I know today, it's that lack of wisdom, that lack of ability to apply knowledge and skills to context. But then, how do we help Yanti to progress in their career? So we spoke about knowledge, skills, and wisdom, but I would like to add an extra keyword here, which is what drives a person to learn more skills or more wisdom. And I call that dreams. So the difference between skills and dreams is the work that somebody has to do in order to progress. But how do we measure this? I created this hexagon framework. It's a career framework to measure people's knowledge, skills, and dreams and help them grow in the direction they want. How does it work? The hexagon has 6 vertices, obviously. Fun fact, it had 5 vertices, but I didn't want to call it the pentagon, so I came up with a new one. 2 of those are specific to the career path. So in this case, I'm going to show you the engineering one, but it could be specific to design, marketing, client partner, and general. The first one is implement, pretty easy, write good, maintainable code. Second one is architect. The third one is lead. So any leadership work in the mentoring would fall under this vertex. Present. Innovate, that's the creativity behind it. It doesn't necessarily mean innovate in terms of tools and library or code. It also could be at company level. We said these are generic, right? These are the 4. Like creating new tools for the company or bringing the company towards future methodologies. And then the last one is finesse. So attention to details, the pixel perfect code, great documentation, all these things. Now, if we spread them on the hexagon, you notice the first thing that you notice is the architect, lead, and present towards the leading aspect of a person, whereas implement, finesse, and innovate are more towards the doing, the making. Now, if we take our ranks, we'll see that a junior engineer will look pretty much like this. Now, the interesting thing is it doesn't matter what a person wants to do, as long as the area of the inner hexagon grows, that means the person is progressing in their career. So a mid engineer may look something like this, and then a senior, maybe they focus a bit more on architecting, leading, and presenting, and they stop finessing or implementing. Now, what does a junior a talented junior engineer look like? Maybe something like this. So we say we want to make Yanti grow in their career. So this is where they are, right? This is their skills. And they say they want to grow this way. This is their dreams. They want to implement a bit more, innovate a bit more, but they also want to learn about architecting and leading. Maybe they don't care about presenting. So we do a work together, and we see that in order to progress, they have to work on architect and lead. Now, some of you might already notice that architect and lead actually belong to the wisdom area. But how do we make Yanti grow in those two areas then? We expose Yanti to experience and control failure. In other words, we allow Yanti to bump his head while we're there watching. This doesn't sound right, and this is not how I'm parenting, not watching my son falling off the bed, but kind of, I'll let him try. Now, what happens if we succeed? Interestingly, we get directly an amazing engineer with knowledge and skills and wisdom. I would also like to add another consideration. Yanti is part of the team. So we saw how to grow Yanti's career, but we want everybody to benefit from everybody. And the fact that Yanti knows a lot, we said it doesn't mean they also know how to spread that knowledge, because mentoring is a specific skill set. So the question is, how do we get this knowledge and spread it over the team? In my experience, I've noticed that, we said that before, complex tasks should not be given all to Yanti just because they can do it, because that all not just doesn't benefit Yanti, but it doesn't benefit the rest of the team, obviously. So what do? We make them peer coding, because peer coding, in my opinion, is the entry level to mentoring, as in you don't require that much experience into doing, because you're just showing and you start learning interactively, both from the other, even if you just code and review each other's code, right? Finally, lead by example. So you have to be there to show your experience in practice, because I did say that you gain wisdom from experience, but not necessarily your experience. You have to reflect on some experience that you witness, if you want, or you shared with the others. To recap, we spoke about knowledge, skills, dreams, wisdom. Again, Howell, I hope you like the extra keyword there. We don't want to pressure anybody with labels, obviously, but in particular, in this case, the talented people, talented juniors. No, don't put it on the spotlight. Basically, teach them how to mentor, and let them fall or fail safely. At this point, I feel like before I let you go, I should change the title of on my slides for the second time at this point. So it should be how to grow talented junior engineers into incredible engineers. Thank you very much, and hand over to Emma for questions, if any, and thank you for having me.
Great. Hi, Alex. Thanks very much. Yes, everybody, do keep questions coming in. I have to say, I kept a little eye on the chat as we were going, and there is more than one person asking you to start singing. Don't talk about Bruno. And I, speaking personally, I have it stuck in my head as well now. So thanks for that. That'll be my earworm for the evening, but no pressure. You don't really have to sing.
Well, I don't think you need to.
While people are thinking of their questions and adding them into the notes as well, one of the things I'd really like if you could expand on is we heard a lot from, I guess, from the perspective of what the mentee gets out of it and how you do it and some of the processes. But I'm wondering if you could just kind of inspire people a little bit about why they should be a mentor, what they personally get out of mentoring juniors as well. What's in it for them if somebody wants to go that route?
Interesting question. Yeah, so mentoring somebody, it is a quick way to learn things, right? Especially if you open to everybody's ideas, and that is a key aspect, not just of mentoring but leading as well, right? Um, if I didn't mentor Yanti, I wouldn't have reflected on the fact that maybe he needed a different career path, because everybody's different. And then that brought me to develop myself into new ideas of mentoring, and obviously that makes you grow as a person. I think I'd like to think that the career I just made it by helping other people growing rather than focusing on myself. So if that's enough of an inspiration for you, I think you grow as a person and in your career by helping others.
Yes, definitely agree with that, and I'm sure it will. One question has popped in quickly from Louisa saying, "How do you know when you can afford to hire junior engineers?" And this is a conversation that crops up quite a lot. I know in the community of like, do you? It's hard to find seniors. It takes an investment to bring in juniors. At what point do you know that it's the right time and how to go about that, really integrating them?
Interesting question. So I've seen many organizations um, using a triangle as an idea of structure, where the top and of the triangle is the C level, right, or the even the seniors, and then the bottom is graduates and junior engineers. Now the problem with that is that, as let's say, the height of the triangle is the quality that you get from the delivery. So the more you go down, the less quality you have. So to me, an ideal shape instead is a rhombus, which I think I'll make it this way, where the biggest chunk is the middle one. So how do you
Right.
know where to hire juniors when you have enough seniors? So the meets should not count to your junior to senior ratio, and
Right.
that is equal to a company as well as a team. You can have one senior, two mids, one junior, but if you want to add another junior, you have to add another senior. Otherwise, you won't deliver and mentor at the same time, and you just have a pressure to deliver, and the junior will not grow, which is not what you want, because otherwise, it's not an investment.
And have you learned that from experience? It must have been out of whack at some
Well,
point, that balance.
basically, I so from Digital Detox, we were about, I think, 12 engineers, and now we're about 120, right? So,
Wow.
and we got this situation where there is lots of graduates. So we try, well, the work that we're trying to do is creating that life cycle of mentorship by making juniors grow as much as we can, so that we can go to this shape from this shape, if that makes sense. So it is
Yeah.
quite a challenge, but the more you grow juniors by let them shadow people or working on bench activities like looking in new tools that might benefit your tech strategy. Um, you know that investment is worth a lot, because it's better, in my opinion, to have a junior engineer and grow them into seniors than hire somebody that's already a senior, because you can shape them if you want, in knowledge, in the standards that you believe into, as well as people and uh, planet ideology that is, our pillars is like, so they start thinking in a different way if they grow thinking that way, which is same as parenting, I guess.
guess you've got the added benefit that as you're mentoring and growing those juniors to be seniors, you're also at the same time teaching them how to mentor the next generation through as
Yeah,
well, because they're learning from experience directly how to mentor. Yes.
yeah,
Where
exactly.
can people learn more? What recommendations have you got for people to follow up where they want to? How can they learn more? Maybe somebody's never mentored before. How do they get started?
Interesting. That is an interesting question. So I usually think project work is the only real is the main learning input, right? And I think interactive and constructive learning are the higher way of learning. So I'm afraid it's not actually reading or courses, is actually getting on a project with somebody and start working with
Right.
other people. Because as I think I mentioned, the key aspect of mentoring is appreciating other people's level, and then
Mm.
building up on there. If you don't understand the rest of the team, then you can't mentor anybody.
Okay. Question in from Sarah says, do you have any examples of where and how you can allow people to fail safely?
Yes, so you can. Um, Recently, actually, that Yanti person had led a project. But the first thing that you might do is like give them the team, making run the sprint grooming sessions and all the internal meetings first. So no, nothing that is basically what I mean is allowing them to fail without impacting the project in any way. So that's the safety net. Also, you will be there not facing the team. So what I do, I'll have meetings with Yanti offline, and he will be the only face leading the project. Right. So I will be just an external consultant to Yanti at that point. Once they get that experience internally to grow the rest of the team, at that point they start facing the client. And it's not just me, right? A project is made with project managers, delivery managers, the client partners, and everybody is as a team towards the same direction of making Yanti as well as other people growing in a safe environment. We help each other. So if you want, if you fail at any level, you will still be protected by the rest of us. However, putting somebody in charge is like putting somebody of the outside of the comfort zone, and that might help.
I guess that kind of leads on, is very similar to Billy's question as well, which says, how do you help junior engineers think in the long term? Because that learned failure requires time from engineers. And a lot of people still find that hard or have different expectations about how long that experience can really take to accrue. So how can you help people find that long-term view?
You don't. The
Easy
junior,
answer.
yeah, juniors don't really know yet what they want to do. They might have a generic idea, but they want to try different things and understand what they like first. And then once they found something, you give them the means to perform and try that a bit more. And they might decide they don't like and change it as well, right? I guess ideally they would know roughly what they want to do, right? So maybe web development, they don't know front end, back end, or DevOps. So you will give them the chance to try everything, and then just be there to help them grow in any direction. Worst case, they just know a bit more about something else.
Excellent. And there's always more time to learn more. We are just about out of time. Thank you very much, Alex. I will be singing Don't Talk About Bruno all the rest of the evening in my head. So thanks for that. I shall have words
I'm
later.
sorry.
Um,
Thank you for having me.
thanks very much. Catch you later. Bye bye.